Hello. I'm in my garden. It's finally video time. Been working yesterday real hard and today and didn't get the chance to make a video. And I was so exhausted last night that I could not even relax. I was so exhausted. I thought I was gonna pass out. Papa talk! Yay! 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 Make a video together. You and I together. Forever and ever. So anyway, I was just talking to Paul about humans, and it is very interesting for me to observe. I told him about different things that happened to me and how I was always... Papa, what is it? What is Papa seeing? What is going on? Oh, last night, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. The cats were screaming in front of my bedroom window and running around, even jumping on the balcony, back and forth between, I don't know if they're, it sounded like they were in the trees, and they were fighting with each other, two cats, and it was a real war going on. And they screamed like heck. It was an incredible it was Medusa screaming, was that. And I woke up from that, and the papa dog woke up from it. And so the papa dog finally jumped up and he ran down the ramp. We have a ramp that goes up to Paul's bed. And he ran down the ramp with the fingernails scraping on the ramp sandpaper surface. So I opened the door for him. He ran out down the other ramp with sandpaper surface. And right around the corner, he knew already exactly where this was happening. And he ran right into the very corner where he could see the cats or smell the cats. Yes, Papa Dog, this is all very unsettling. What is going on? Detective David Foster Wallace he is checking out the situation, and he's calling for the criminal to come out of the cedar tree. Criminal, come out of the cedar tree. Yes, there is a daddy long leg Schnake going into the cedar tree right now. And I don't know what else might be in the cedar tree at this point, or up high in the cedar tree. I'm always a little bit worried that there could be... Papa Dog, there are snakes in there, be careful. And I don't know if sometimes I'm worried that there may be a bobcat. One night I heard. Oh my God, that's what it is. Oh my goodness, Detective David Foster Wallace. Yes, you did it, Papa Dog, you did it. You chased out the invader. A black and white kitty was in the cedar tree, that's what it was, up high. And detective called him out and he came running and jumped over that fence and ran off the property. Papa did it. He chased away an intruder. Papa Dog, yes, this is good work. Yes, this is excellent. Yes, this is very excellent, is that. Yes, that is real good work, is that, Papa Dog. Yes, nice detective work. Nice police officer work, is that. Yes. So one night I heard what sounded like a large cougar, but I am not sure. But it was definitely not a house cat. It had a deep voice, and it sounded very scary. and the cougar must have felt very threatened by the papa dog. And the good thing is that while people laugh when they see the papa dog, they laugh because he looks a bit like a cartoon figure. He's very short. The animals, they know how big he is. They know that he's 100-pounder, and they don't go by short and by cartoon. They go by, oh my goodness, there's 100-pounder carnivore, so I better get into fight or flight. And so when another carnivore, particularly, like a cougar or a kitty, when they see him coming, they get very, very tense. The tension rises in the body, and they get very scared. And the deer are like they're like 5 times higher than he is, or 6 or 7 times higher than he is in the shoulder. And they are terrified of the papa dog. Oh my gosh, when they see the papa dog come, they sprint up and down and run and jump very high over the fences. They can jump in one jump from standing position over this fence. That's pretty amazing. So I'm drinking watermelon juice. That's why I have watermelon stains, but that's okay. I'm supporting and promoting that publicly. And we went to the beach. It was wonderful. Went to an amazing hiking trail, and it felt so good, And Paul rushed us back because he forgot to bring his headband, and the wind was blowing, and I had just found a good place to sit down against a driftwood log, and I was so happy, and it felt so good, and I was so starting to relax. My brain started to relax out there at the beach. There wasn't any radiation of any sort, and there were some people, but they were pretty much far away from each other, and there's a lot of driftwood, and so different people, they can find their own driftwood place to sit down, and we didn't have to share anything with someone else. So it was really nice. We had that for ourselves. It was sunset. It was wonderful, looking over the driftwoods, looking into the ocean. We can see whales sometimes, and Paul has seen whales where the water fountain would come out of the head, the nostrils that are like in the middle of the head, and they will spray a big fountain up, and it's really nice, and it was really relaxing, and I felt like my brain was finally relaxing. But then he rushed us back and had to continue to go. We had to go shopping, and it's always very, very stressful for me when I'm around other people. I can't think very clearly. Math, that I'm already dealing, when my brain has to do calculations and figuring out the receipt and all of this, that's already very difficult. It'll take me like 100 times longer than maybe an average person. I guess other people don't do it either. So, but most people don't even look at the receipt. I have to look at the receipt, so I've been cheated several times already. So, but then I'm so exhausted, and then there's other people around me, and the energy of other people, and there's this hectic and this stressful, nervous energy. No one ever says what they're thinking, of course, but I can sense it, I can feel it, and it's exhausting. Yeah, it's absolutely exhausting, and not everyone has benevolent thoughts. Even if I'm jealous, I see a woman that I'm jealous of, I still have benevolent thoughts towards her. But that is not the case with other people. So And it's very stressful dealing with this and dodging all of these entities, these that are live bodies, that these auras that they have around them. This the krage in Sanskrit means wanting. Kriegen in German, kriegen. I want. And kriegen also means going to war at the same time. Very interesting. Struggle, strive, wanting, getting, war. So sad aura around people, it's extremely stressful to deal with. But so then Paul and I fought, and he was nagging all day long, and I got mad at him. But then instead of, like in the past, long time ago, I used to get so mad I would like start screaming, and or I might even throw a cup on the floor. And so that was 15 years ago, and I'm not doing this anymore. Vipassana, Jiddu Krishnamurti, S.N. Goenka, Thich Nhat Hanh, they helped me so much. And my brain started to calm down. I see clearly now. Also when I'm angry, I can see there's not an option. It's not an option for me to go into um, rage mode, and act it out on others. And I get angry often because it is not easy dealing with him. He has a way of constantly nagging, complaining, accusing, and insinuating. That's very, very aggravating. Everyone would get angry at this. But this is also part of my school. So that's why I'm here. That's why we're together. I'm supposed to learn this. Okay. I'm supposed to learn. How can we learn if we don't encounter the obstacles? So, right? In order to learn to go smoothly around or over an obstacle, I have to have an obstacle there. So obviously, it's part of the school. So that's what Paul is offering to me. He's he's offering me the obstacles and the hard teacher. Yeah. He's a tough teacher in that way, involuntarily from this 3D realm, voluntarily from the other realm. So it's a soul contract. It's a tough one. He was my wife in my former life. In one of my former lives, he was my wife. Yeah, his name was Lou. Yeah, was my wife, and she was actually my grandmother was a huge fan of Lou. So yeah, Lou, one of the early feminists, and completely came back in a totally different situation. Old school man. That's always hard for someone growing up in an old school that caters to his ego to then take the effort and go out of that convenience on his own accord. So that takes a lot of far vision to do this. But yeah, he does it to a certain extent, but I have to help a little bit. So it doesn't come that supernaturally. So, but I help, and I help him. I'm a tough teacher for him. He's the tough teacher for me. That was also the case when we were Friedrich and Lou. And it just continues, and that's what it does. So, but anyway, and then David Foster Wallace comes to us, and he's much more advanced than we are, and he comes to help. So, and the blue god before him, the blue god in person form, in dog person. The blue god in Great Dane came to us before David. I thought I was never going to survive that he was finally going to go. Boy, that was hard. I'm gonna grieve for him for the rest of my life, for sure. But David Foster Wallace is my nurse. He came in to check on us. So, and I'm infinitely grateful to him and to the Blue God for sending him to us. So it's all a miracle. That's what it is. It's incredible. So yeah, I've been talking to Paul today also about people and how people are, they, of course, they will protect whatever old school there is that caters to their egos. That's how, and if we take this like multiple, or if we exponentialize this by even by 100 or something, like the little 100 in the upper corner, then we have Islam. So the men in Islam, of course, that that terror regime caters to them. Okay, that's what a lot of men would like to have. They would like to have a terror regime that caters to them and against women, so that they can have the women under them and have them, and can have as many as they want to on top of it, and can have them all, and can do with them what they want. So that's like, exponentialized by 100. That same thing that, that old, like the old school that Paul comes from, but like to an absolute, made to an extreme in Islam. So while Paul comes from, the rural men of the United States that come from evangelical Christianity, which he questioned already when he was 11, he became an atheist. So, but still, that kind of like stars had a lot of sexisms in his language. So, and then he didn't really question it because it wasn't attacking him. Okay, so that's why often we come back as the other gender in our next life in order to see it from first perspective. Otherwise, it's too difficult for some people to understand. If the status quo of society caters to them, they're not going to question it. Okay? They're going to take it as for granted, and think, oh well, yeah, that caters to me, I'll better keep it. So yeah, fast forward to Islam, and you have that to an extreme where the men there, they don't question it at all, and they will do all kinds of criminal things and psychopathic things. So if that doesn't go against the law of their totalitarian terror regime, then they'll continue to do it. Just in the same way as in any kind of situation, let's say, in any kind of situation like a man and a woman, a couple, and let's say the woman gives in any kind of society, the woman gives in to bullshit, the man will not learn. He will not straighten out, okay, if she gives in to it. Matter of fact is, his bullshit behavior, his act outs will become worse. If we don't say something, the other person's negative behavior will become worse. It will escalate. So we have to say something. We don't have a choice. This also applies to women. It applies to all of us. Okay? Of course, there's some asshole women out there too. So, but in like, I don't know, 95% of the cases, it's the woman that takes the beating. Yeah, literally and metaphorically, worldwide. And that's because of that's because of the all of these religions, these so-called traditions, the social dynamics that cater to men, and they don't want to change that, and it's just that's why it's so sluggish in its way to be reformed. So, but we are reforming it as we speak. So we don't put up with this. I mean, intellectual women who love themselves and who love their bodies, they're not going to let that happen. They're not going to allow this. They will say something. Okay. My nose got kind of pointy. This is very cute. This is so anyway. Yeah, this is what's happening. And so I said to Paul that so whenever I tell Paul something, what's happening to me, he will come up with, he doesn't even really understand what I'm saying instead of being on my side. But just that this is some kind of weird uh, having the last word type of habit of his, you know. So it's very, it's very unsocial. So very socially inept is that. But that's just the character thing, and has to do with pain also and unconsciousness. So I told him that the people on the internet are. I told him that that one guy actually said to me that I'm sickening with my kindness and sweetness. As some people find real sweet perfumes sickening, you know, in that way. So when I told Paul that, then he said, "But don't you find it also sickening what Angela Merkel is doing?" I said, "Well, I wasn't referring to that in the slightest bit. That is a completely different thing, because what Angela Merkel is doing is not sweet and kind. That doesn't come from kindness and compassion. What she's doing with the Muslims, letting all the Muslims in, that comes from her religion, that comes from holding the other cheek, that comes from um, our generation does it better, it comes from collective guilt, and most of all, like 95%, it comes from a fear of social rejection, because the high society that are also very, very stupid. They're not smarter in any way. They're just more, they may be more academic. That doesn't make them more intelligent. Okay. So I know, because I come from that society. I've seen these people. They're equally stupid and equally fearful of public rejection and rejection of friend circle and so on in society. So it comes out of fear of not being liked anymore. That's the fear of not being reelected, the fear of being looked down on as bigoted or whatever. So that's what it really, really boils down to. And that has nothing to do with love and kindness. So my sweetness of rescuing all and loving all, the reason why that is too sweet for people is for the same reason that Leonard Stetschik, the figure in the novel The Pale King by David Foster Wallace, was the same way that he was so abused and almost killed by people in his school because of his kindness and sweetness. So, yeah, and that brings back that same old question, the $10 question. Why do people hate Leonard Stetschik when he is so kind and sweet? Why do they find him sickening with his sweetness and kindness? Why do they find me sickening with my plea for love and peace for all living beings equally much? So that's my question. I put this question out there to the world. Leave me an answer under this video, and maybe we can have a video response also, and maybe one day we can have a Google Hangout or a Skype Hangout conversation with video, and maybe one day we can have a recorded one and put it on the internet for other people to get interested in this. This is called psychology and philosophy, and also borders into metaphysics. So all of this ties into these fields, and I think this is very important. The daily life issues tie into these fields. We don't have to talk like Plato to be fitting into the field of philosophy. We can talk about daily things, bullying, those kind of things. This is very important that we get into this, that we start to get into this. And I hope that one day I can have a live chat, a live video chat with many video participants, live chat, and maybe also a live tweet on the side. So try all of these different modalities and see how that can get people to question more and to make the world a better place. Okay, you guys take care. Bye bye.